save us!
Let's go, Sheriff Labrador!
What happened to the money in Mr. Angus's piggy bank? Part 2.
Sheriff Labrador, how did you know I hid the piggy bank in the garden?
A beam of wisdom flashed behind Sheriff Labrador's dark, round eyes.
Very simple. I observed that the piggy bank is stained with mud on the bottom, which is mixed with some tiny gravel and plant fragments that match those from the garden in your front yard. Besides, I also saw a small, freshly dug hole in the garden, where the soil had clearly been recently overturned. So I put all of those clues together and guessed that you buried your piggy bank in the garden in your front yard.
Shh. You're right, Sheriff Labrador. Please keep your voice down. I don't want my wife to hear it. I used to hide my piggy bank in the muddy hole under the 5th stepping stone slab behind the 3rd tree on the right in the front yard.
Whoa, honey. You sure know how to hide things.
Mrs. Angus suddenly appeared behind Mr. Angus, rolling her eyes and crossing her arms.
Oh, my honey, my sweetie, I can explain.
I will hide your dinner tonight and return. Find it yourself.
My one and only. Please don't. I'm sorry. That was wrong of me.
Excuse me, Mr. Angus and Mrs. Angus, we're gonna go check on the scene.
Oh, Sheriff Labrador, let me go with you.
Sheriff Labrador and Officer Doberman stepped into the garden and looked around carefully.
No unusual footprints are found at the scene. But Mr. Angus hid the piggy bank in such an inconspicuous place. Maybe the thief has long known that Mr. Angus had a piggy bank buried here.
Then Sheriff Labrador's dark round eyes suddenly glistened.
Does anyone else besides you know where you stashed your piggy bank, Mr. Angus?
Well, I didn't tell anyone. Even my wife just found out about it.
That's strange. Since only Mr. Angus knew where he hid the piggy bank, how did the thief find it?
Sheriff Labrador took out his magnifying glass and carefully searched around the Angus's garden. Then, a couple of red rose bushes in the garden caught Sheriff Labrador's attention.
It looks like someone turned over the soil near these flowers recently. Could it be? Mr. Angus, have those roses been planted recently?
Yep, they were. Roses are my wife's favorite flower. These are here thanks to my neighbor Martini, who came over last weekend to help plant the flowers.
Hearing what Mr. Angus said, Sheriff Labrador's black round eyes lit up. He immediately used a shovel to dig out all the dirt in the muddy hole where Mr. Angus used to hide his piggy bank. Gradually, deep in the hole appeared a small tunnel that only small animals could pass through. Sheriff Labrador picked up a handy garden hose and handed it to Officer Doberman.
Dobie, I need you to take this hose and flush water through this tunnel.
Hey now, leave it to me. One of my favorite pastimes is playing with water.
As Officer Doberman turned the tap on, Sheriff Labrador turned and walked over to Martini the mole's door.
Who is it?
A mole lazily opened the door with a lollipop in his mouth, then immediately tensed up when he saw Sheriff Labrador standing in front of him.
Sheriff Labrador? What are you doing here?
Excuse me, Mr. Martini. Please check your garden to see if there is a spout of water.
A spout of water?
Martini the mole looked over his shoulder and saw a stream of water gushing out of the ground in the corner of his garden. Sheriff Labrador phoned Officer Doberman right away.
You can turn off the tap now, Dobie.
Oh dear, what's going on here?
Here's the thing, Mr. Martini. There's a tunnel under Mr. Angus's garden next door that leads directly to your garden. Well, something Mr. Angus hid in his garden was stolen last night.
What? I don't know anything about a tunnel. And I didn't steal Mr. Angus's piggy bank.
Oh, really? But I didn't even say what it was that was stolen, so how did you know it was related to a piggy bank? If my guess was correct, you came across Mr. Angus's piggy bank buried in the ground when you helped plant flowers for his wife last weekend. So, you went home and started digging in your garden. Last night, you went down the tunnel into Mr. Angus's garden and stole the coins he had hidden underground. Am I right?
I'm out of right here.
At the first hint of trouble, Mortini the mole darted out of the garden, not even taking the lollipop out of his mouth.
Stop right now! Mortini!
I'm not stupid.
Mortini did not listen to Sheriff Labrador and kept running as fast as he could. As he was running, Mortini suddenly began choking on the lollipop in his mouth because of how hard he inhaled while running. He was forced to stop and seek help. Sheriff Labrador quickly removed the lollipop stuck in Mortini's throat. Then he reminded him with resignation.
Never do strenuous exercise like running with hard candy in your mouth, Mortini. Such dangerous behavior can easily lead to an accident where stuff gets stuck in your throat, which will induce choking, suffocation, or worse. Come with us to the police station now.